Hey guys, it's Invictus, and today I want to talk about Kingsbane and its position in this new meta. I wrote a post on Reddit, on our competitive Hearthstone, about the big buff that I said Kingsbane got, and I do stand by every word of that. I just want to put it in video form. It might be a little bit easier to swallow if you want to watch this like a podcast or whatever. In that post, I did talk about its stance in the previous meta, where it was kind of running along the same tracks as this Quest Rogue. And Quest Rogue was just a lot more consistent. But now, Quest Rogue is moved out because they can't play a full board of 4/4s every single turn like they could with the Giggling Inventor. Now the Giggling Inventor is 7, they can't play 2 of them in the same turn. So that deck has been moved out, and Kingsbane actually got a huge buff because it didn't play Giggling Inventor at all in any of those previous builds pre-nerf. And one of its worst matchups was Aggro Mage. And now the only Aggro Mage that's in the meta is this Murloc thing that I think is very inconsistent. So I just want to make my brief sales pitch for Kingsbane, and that was basically it. There's less Druid, and so the end games are going to be less tedious. And I also just want to say that in a lot of these matchups that Kingsbane supposedly loses to, like Cube Hunter or Togwaggle, it doesn't. I just think that people need to readjust their way of thinking about the deck, because it can be an aggressive deck where you just want to keep the weapon on your face as much as possible so you can just take their health total from 30 to 0 as quickly as possible. Or it can be this control thing where you're just trying to eliminate their tools. I've actually seen a little bit of Spiteful, and any mid-range deck like this, you're just trying to eliminate their threats and just play this control game, play it to the end game. You win in fatigue no matter what. But most of the time you are trying to be aggressive. You're building like, a 10-3 weapon or whatever, and you're going face. I mean, that's what's happening. All right, so I just want to talk a little bit about the build that I've been using. I got Legend with it, and I crawled into Legend at like 3,500-ish, and now let's see what I'm at. I'm at like 3K or something. I climbed up to, I'm at like 3K. I climbed up to like 2,200-ish earlier today. I just want to talk a little bit about the build that I'm using and why I'm using the cards that I am. This is like ever so slightly different than the one that I posted on Reddit. I think the one on Reddit, I accidentally put 2 Cutthroat Buccaneers instead of 2 Toxicologists. When Toxicologist is just a better card, because you don't need a combo. So a few of the weird things is, why am I not running 2 Buccaneers? And the reason is because I kind of wanted to run Evasion. Evasion can run as like a Frost Nova, where a wide aggressive board that you see with Odd Paladin or even Shaman sometimes, you don't want to take all that damage. And only taking like 2 damage as opposed to 8 is a huge deal. And 2 mana allowing you to do that is a big deal. Rundown. So I just want to talk largely about the minions in this deck. I'm trying to run as few minions as possible, and the reason is because of Elven Minstrel. So Elven Minstrel, it's tiered tutoring. So you have Elven Minstrel at the top, or at the top you really have Kingsbane, and your ways to draw Kingsbane are natural, or you're drawing it off of Shiny Finder. So in Shiny Finder, you're either drawing that naturally, or you're drawing it off of Elven Minstrel. So eliminating the minions gives you a better chance of drawing the Shiny Finder off of Elven Minstrel, which gives you a better chance of getting Kingsbane early, or keeping it on your face late if you need to go that route. So eliminating things like Vilespine Slayer was actually kind of a big move for me. Also, comboing with this deck can be kind of weird. Oftentimes you don't want to use your 1-mana spells because they're pretty important to do that. Sometimes you don't have Deadly Poison available to you. Deadly Poison is a great way to combo, but Doomerang is not really. Most of the time you want to keep your Doomerang for situations that you actually need it in. Whether you need a heal or you need an extra removal, you really don't want to be using it just to combo with something like Buccaneer. Aside from that, Gluttonous Ooze. So Gluttonous Ooze is actually a card I wanted to talk about a little bit, but I am right on the edge of playing it. The reason I wouldn't play it is just because it's another minion. It clunks up your Elven Minstrel. It just makes everything a little bit more clunky than it needs to be. But it's so good against Odd Paladin, and it really messes around with Druids. There are still some late game Druids that are playing the Twig, trying to go for this late game combo. Also, when you're staring down, what is it, like Vile Slayer, whatever, the 7 mana 4/3 weapon that summons the 2 Silverhand recruits, whatever that weapon is. If you're staring that weapon down, it can be daunting, especially if you've, attacked face with your weapon and you don't get it back. Then you really need this Gluttonous Ooze to kind of smooth things out. 2 cards that I don't have in the deck that I do want to talk about. One is Captain Greenskin, the 5 mana 5/4 that gives 1 durability and 1 attack to your weapon. This card is really good, but the reason I'm not playing it is because I feel like it's win more. I don't really have problems keeping the weapon on my face once it's on my face to start. You have double Doomerang, you have your Shiny Finder, and through this whole process you have sprints, so your deck is thinning, so you shouldn't really have problems keeping the Kingsbane on your face. Giving it 1 durability does matter sometimes, and a 5/4 body is nothing to scoff at, but Kingsbane isn't really a board-centric deck. You're not really trying to build a board, you're trying to build a weapon, and you don't care what your board is, you just want to hit them in the face and keep your health total high enough so that you stay out of burst range. So I'm not running Greenskin. It does mess around with the Elven Minstrel draw as well, so it's good when the weapon is already on your face, but it's horrible when the weapon is not on your face and you need it to be. The second card I want to talk about is Witchwood Piper that I have not included in the deck. The problem with Witchwood Piper is that it's not guaranteed to draw your Shiny Finder because you have to play Toxicologist, really. There's simply not enough great weapon buffs in this meta to warrant not running Toxicologist at all. So if you're running it, then there's like this 50-50 weird thing, unless you're running 2 Buccaneers, where you might not get Shiny Finder, and if you're unlucky, you're never going to get Shiny Finder. It is a really good idea, though, and I'd like to see more tests done with it. I'd also like to see more builds of this. We are a few days out from the Vicious Syndicate meta report, where all of this could be debunked, but I'm really optimistic for this meta. I'm really optimistic for this deck. It's one of my favorite decks of all time, and I hope you guys try it out at the very least and tell me what you think. Thanks, guys.